This dimension doesn't exist, but somehow I found it by complete accident. I was just playing Minecraft on my single player world when I tried to enter a portal, but instead of the nether, I discovered something that would eventually change my life forever. And it all starts here, a channel with less than 300 subscribers called Wild Hunter 291. On the surface, there isn't much to this channel, but once we delve deeper into it, the rabbit hole goes further than you could ever imagine. This first video shows our protagonist in the nether, walking around and seemingly trying to find his way back to somewhere, likely his portal home. He keeps walking around and trying to find it, stopping only to mine a small patch of quartz. Hunter eventually finds his portal and goes through it, where we get our first glimpse of his base, which is just a simple setup in a cave. But when he deposits his stuff and enters the portal again, he doesn't end up in the nether this time, but some weird cobblestone cave-like formation, with this weird sound playing in the background. He spots some XP on the ground and tries to collect it, but the game seems too laggy to be able to pick it up, which is weird considering he's in a single player world, revealed by his reply to one of the comments. The same thing happens again when he tries to mine blocks but they don't break, and when he tries to eat food but it doesn't work. He walks around for a bit before climbing up a long way and jumping to his death. He then just respawns back in his bed, like nothing happened, and when he tries to go back to that weird dimension through the portal, he just ends up back in the nether before dying to a piglin as the video ends. There was quite a few things that really stuck out to me while watching this, especially the weird cobblestone dimension he randomly travelled to seemingly by accident, where everything inside of it was laggy, even though he was in single player. Apart from this though, we really haven't seen a lot of this dimension yet, so it's a bit early to jump to conclusions on what it actually is. Another thing I noticed when watching this video was what Hunter wrote in the description.
Sorry for the bad recording quality, but please, help me. How is this possible? Is this a bug? I'm playing on 1.20.1 if that helps.
This description tells us that he's on version 1.20.1, which seems a little outdated for the time this was uploaded, which could possibly mean he's playing with mods, and was forced to use the more outdated version to use the ones he wanted to. And maybe one of the mods is causing this weird dimension to exist, but without confirmation, there's nothing we can do except move on from this video and on to the next, titled Weird Cow. But before I move on, I just want to say, if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider subscribing, as it supports the channel and helps me to continue making these videos. Back to the video. Hunter starts this video with some weird sped up footage of him chopping down trees, before he starts talking to us for the first time.
Hey guys, remember that I can talk to you in chat, so I have to figure out what that was.
But this time, as he enters the portal, he just ends up in the nether like you normally would. He looks around for a second before going back to the overworld to craft a pickaxe and go mining. But near the end, as he's returning back to his base, we see a small patch of iron, the same patch of iron he had already mined earlier that episode, along with the patch of coal he had also previously mined. Hunter notices this though, acting surprised in chat before mining the coal and heading back to his base to smelt the iron. But as he heads back out to mine again, but then it just stops, and he runs back to his base before breaking the portal and continuing to go craft some more tools and a shield. But as he moves back to the caves, it happens again. But this time, the video instantly ends instead of coming back like last time, leaving us completely stranded for info and without any answers. So, in hope of some sort of closure, I decided to check the description.
I'm sorry that the video got corrupted a little bit, but this is crazy. I think I'm going to continue documenting what I see. I'll create a Discord account, and if you think you know what's happening, then you can help me. But I can't voice call. I know it's hard to make out what's happening in this video, but basically, I saw a cow moving around weirdly, and even going on top of the tree, which I'm pretty sure the AI can't go on leaves. At the end of the video, my game randomly crashed, and the recording got corrupted a little bit. I think that the weird cow came from the dimension that I got transported to, but I'm probably wrong. I made sure to break that stupid portal.
At first, I was confused about what he was talking about, until I rewatched the video and found the exact moment he had mentioned. If we slow down and zoom in when the video glitches out the first time, we can notice Hunter staring directly at a cow on top of a tree, which he seems to think is the direct cause for these corruptions, which explains why he was so quick to run away and break the portal. Although, he does seem skeptical of his own theories, so I'm still unsure of what to take at face value or not. This entire video didn't really show us anything interesting yet, but we can take what we learned from here and move on to the next video, titled I'm Not Alone. This video starts with Hunter loading into his world, with nothing in his inventory, but we can notice one super strange thing. The nether portal is back, after he broke it last episode during all the weird happenings. But he doesn't actually notice it came back. Or maybe he forgot he even broke it, because the next second he mentions wanting to go back to the dimension, before immediately entering the portal and ending up in the same cobblestone plane as last time. He starts walking in a direction before finding his stuff from after he died in the previous video, collecting it all before heading out again. At this point, I started to notice a pattern with the weird pulsating sound in the back. Every time he would get closer or on top of one of these mounds, the sound would get faster. And the further he got away, it would get slower. Maybe this is the dimension's way of luring him somewhere, like some sort of twisted hot or cold game. Hunter moves on though, continuing to climb one of the big pillars before finding himself curious about the mounds, but ends up being too laggy to dig down into them. But then, just as he least suspects it, something absolutely unexplainable happens. In the corner of the screen, hiding behind a pillar, there's an entity wearing Hunter's skin, and he notices this too, immediately turning around to run the other way, before saying that his chat got disabled at this moment so he couldn't talk to us or ask for help. He continues running before stopping to hide behind a mound, then deciding to try to find this weird entity, but to no avail. He then digs himself into a hole and logs out, before closing his game as the video ends. This episode creates a lot of questions, but really doesn't help us answer our current questions, like why was the portal back after Hunter broke it? What was the importance of these cobblestone mounds? And most importantly, who, or rather what, is this entity? There's nothing more to take from this video, as the description and comments are almost completely blank. But before we move on to the next video, I decided to look a little deeper into the channel, and found this community post, which read,
Hey guys, this resource pack was in my game, even though I never installed it. I made a media file link if you want to check it out. To me, it just looks like all of the textures are the same as default Minecraft, but I could be wrong.
After reading this, I downloaded the texture pack and took it upon myself to look through the entire thing in a desperate attempt to find some sort of closure. But after genuine hours of searching, I finally stumbled upon this weirdly large black concrete texture, and upon brightening it, I noticed a QR code in the bottom left and decided to scan it. This revealed a paste bin link, but just as I thought I had all the answers, the contents was locked behind a password, and I didn't even have the slightest clue on what it was, so I continued searching throughout the channel as we move on to the fourth video, Dimension 2. The video starts incredibly dark, but upon turning up the exposure, we can notice a weird black void world, with identical oak trees lined up perfectly in rows. Hunter talks to us using text, stating that he got sent to this dimension as soon as he rejoined. He walks around for a bit before stopping to mine some wood, before freaking out as a weird black entity runs at him. This frightens him, and he runs off in another direction, continuously looking back as if to make sure it's not following him. Hunter mines into the trees in an attempt to get up higher, and once he does, he jumps off the trees to his death, and respawns back in his base again, before telling us he can finally chat again. He pauses for a second and says a few things in chat, before attempting to enter the dimension again, and after a few attempts, he ends up in the cobblestone world. Before loading in, he shares a theory about how to get to the next dimension. This would make sense, as that's exactly how it seems he discovered that weird void dimension earlier in the episode, and before long he decides to test this theory and restarts his game, just to log back in and end up in the void dimension again. This pretty much confirms his theory about how to enter the dimension. Hunter walks around for a bit longer, seemingly in search of something or someone. But before long, the video corrupts again and ends. By the title, I want to assume that there's definitely more dimensions out there to be discovered, each with their own weird way to be entered, but as of right now, it's hard to judge whether or not that would be true. The only other takeaway I can find from this video is the entity, which at the moment seems to be following him everywhere he goes, as we've seen it in both this dimension and the cobblestone one. But as likely as this theory is, there's still no way to completely confirm it, so we can move on to the next video on the channel, Dimension 3. This video starts with Hunter on the main menu, where he clicks single player just to realize that his entire world is gone. He continues on to just create a completely new one, but we can notice that his recordings seem to be glitching out a whole lot, and when he clicks to actually create the world, this weird warning comes up, asking whether or not he wants to use experimental features. He loads in and the corruption on the video gets even more intense for about a minute, until it completely stops, before Hunter says this.
Okay guys, I was playing on my old world a little off camera, no new findings besides that. The entities are escaping to the overworld. Or at least, one is.
What did he mean by this, and how did he know? He finally moves on from this almost immediately though, just for the corruption to start again, and we finally see this weird player running around wearing his skin. Before Hunter immediately logs off, taking a few seconds before rejoining the world, but instead of being back where he left it, he's in this weird room with 4 doors. He looks around for a second before picking a random one and entering, only to find what seems like a maze. He runs around for a bit, going through different doors before eventually stopping in this weird corridor, and that was his first mistake. And that's exactly where this video ends, as he gets caught by this weird Steve skin entity. As noticeable by the title, the maze place must be the 3rd dimension, and our theory from last video seems almost certain by now. It seems the way to access any of these dimensions is to log off in the previous one. Another thing I've noticed is that each dimension seems to have its own entities. The cobblestone dimension had the weird doppelganger entity, which leaked into the overworld earlier in this video. The tree dimension had the pure black entity, and this odd maze dimension had the weird Steve figure. The only other things I can take away from this video is the description, which reads,
I never had a video get this corrupted before. Yesterday and the day before, I was doing testing on my old world. I noticed that the entity with my skin from I'm Not Alone.mp4 had escaped to the overworld. I had seen it slowly walking around in the dark oak forest, staring directly at me. I remember seeing it again, either before or after that, but my memory of it is very foggy. It is so weird. I tried recording, but the recording's vanished. I've noticed that my computer is starting to get more laggy and glitches are starting to occur. I think that this is a virus and it's spreading throughout my computer. I don't know how I got the virus because I only downloaded from official sources and never clicked on any fake download ads.
Hunter talks a lot about his computer lag and how he could possibly have a virus, despite ever clicking on any dodgy links or downloads. But everything seems to be fine enough, as he's able to keep posting videos and documenting what's going on. So with that, we'll move on to the next video on the channel, The Room in the Cliff. Something I immediately noticed as this video started was the corruption, exact same as last video, and that continues throughout the entirety of this video as well. Hunter apologizes for the corruptions in the last video, before saying that he changed his skin as he had a theory. He then just plays as normal, trying to get gear to fight the entities. He then ends up at the exact same place we saw the entity last video, where he finds a cave and decides to enter. But as he ventures deeper, stuff starts to get more and more weird until he completely decides to leave the cave. He then keeps walking around for a few minutes, seemingly trying to find somewhere to build a base, until he comes across this weird cross in the wall of a mountain, thinking nothing of it and deciding to mine it. But then he finds this.
I know that you will see this, Wild Hunter 291, and I just want to say, we're sorry that this had to happen to you. It didn't mean for it to root into your computer. We had to escape, and that was the only option, so I had to do it. We did it for us. So despite what happens to you, think about us. Even though you are being negatively affected, think about how many of our lives you are saving. I'm sorry about the negative side effects, but we can't control them. I'm truly sorry, that it got rooted in your computer.
This seems to be a message written to him by the entities, saying that they had to use him to escape, and that was the cause for all the corruptions. Hunter, for some reason, decides to just brush it off and go back to what he was doing, and starting to build on his house, until he eventually realizes it's not something he can just ignore. So he returns, only asking whoever wrote it 3 simple questions.
Who the f are you? What did you do? Why do you keep referring to... Wait.
After this, he just continues mining and gathering resources, as the corruption seems to worsen. Eventually, he gets bored and logs off, leaving us with a lot more questions than answers again. Which entity was it that wrote this? Why are they trying to seem friendly after literally attacking Hunter? A lot of things are starting to not add up, and there's a lot of inconsistencies residing within these entities. Another thing I've noticed under almost every video is Hunter's desperate attempts to get someone to add him on Discord, as he's mentioned it multiple times throughout this entire series. And by the time this video had released, I finally caved and tried to add him, but after waiting weeks, he never added me back. And people were saying he wasn't responding to them anymore, which is super weird. It seems the only way for us to find out more right now is to continue our search and make our way to the next video on the channel, titled Dimension 5. This video starts similarly to all the others, with Hunter loading into the world. The corruption in the video seems to have calmed down quite a bit, only seeming to glitch out a little bit every few seconds. He sets out in search of more iron to gear himself up, before building this weird prismarine structure in the shape of a nether portal, before trying to light it, when, for some reason, it works. He enters and ends up hundreds of blocks up in the air, above what looks like an ocean, looking around for a bit before exiting back through the portal. He goes back to his base to craft a boat, then entering the portal yet again, before hopping in the boat and landing in the ocean down below. I noticed the letter 1 pop up right above his hotbar, but didn't really think much of it at the time, until it happened again, this time with the letter U, then T. And by this point, Hunter seems to notice it as well. The messages keep coming through, with an X, an A, an S, and T, C, V, G, and finally K. After this, he leaves the dimension and just decides to log off for the day, leaving us with no sort of lead for this weird cipher, but I decided to immediately paste it into a YouTube URL, which by some miracle brought me to this unlisted video, simply titled White Room. It immediately starts off weird, with Hunter loading into some village house, fully contained in a gigantic white room, with a bunch of stuff off in the distance. He picks one of them and starts heading towards it, and gets close enough to where we can recognize the same prismarine portal from last episode, but not lit this time. He inspects it for a second before completely destroying it, and heading in the direction of the next structure, which seems to be a never-ending pillar of concrete, stretching all the way up to build limit. He heads back towards the house, then runs off in another random direction, and keeps going until eventually finding a sign, which just contained his username. He types back to the entity,
What do you want?
then breaks the sign. He continues running in the same direction for a long time, before eventually coming across yet another portal, stopping for a second to speak to us through the sign.
So weird. What is it with these portals? I think that they're important. I mean, this all started with that nether portal, and now we are seeing these prismarine ones. It's just interesting, I guess.
He moves past this pretty quickly though, continuing in the same direction until eventually finding a chest containing just a book and a quill. He waits for a second before opening the book, which reveals another weird number encrypted message. Hunter closes the book before seeing a village house in the distance and heading towards it, but ends up accidentally dying with a bed and logging off as the video ends. I searched every single sort of number encryption that I know, until I eventually landed on this, the Polybius square cipher, and when I put the numbers in, this is what I got. I can't be 100% sure on what this means yet, but I think it's a safe assumption to say it at least means the entities have been here for a long time. Enough to know the ins and outs of every single dimension. Another thing I observed throughout this video was the complete lack of corruption. In the other videos, it seems like corruption happened as a result of the entities, such as the weird cow or the Steve figure from the maze. But the fact it hadn't happened at all while he's been in this dimension makes it seem almost like the entities couldn't reach him at all, like this weird white world was some sort of safe haven away from the danger of them. Apart from this though, there's nothing more to take away from this video, so we can comfortably move on to the 8th video on the channel, Refresher. This video starts with Hunter in his newly built house, with the corruptions more severe heavier than we've ever seen now. He decides to make his way back to the signs from the previous video to check if the entities have written anything else or even answered his current questions, but when he arrives, he finds nothing new. He leaves and mentions that he wants to get a turtle helmet at some point to explore the water dimension further, before finishing off the building of his house. But while he's building the roof, we randomly hear this. I immediately recognized it as Morse code and put it through a translator to get the full phrase. It reads,
Thanks. We feel at home here.
If we remember back to the signs from the previous video, the entity said that they were using Hunter as a sort of vessel to travel from the dimensions to the overworld, and this Morse code must be their way of thanking him for that. The rest of the video doesn't really tell us much though, as he just ends up searching for turtles before getting unlucky and logging off. After watching this video, the first thing I did was check the description, which read,
Only like one weird thing happened in this video, which is a nice refresher. Sorry for not posting for a few days. I've been feeling awful. If I record a next video, I plan to revisit the water dimension, and possibly the rest. I'm super drained, so if I do them, future uploads might be more spaced out. I'm hoping that I will start to feel better, but so far, it's been getting worse. My memory is getting more foggy, and I'm having trouble differentiating from reality and my imagination. Like I swear I remember me talking to one of the entities, or something, but it's so foggy, and it feels like a dream. I also can't remember exactly what was said. I think I'm going to die.
I feel like it's entirely possible the sickness that Hunter talks about here is directly related to the entities, and the fact they're using him as their sort of escape into real life. Almost like they were previously players too, but ended up trapped in this world with their own dimensions. Another thing I noticed was a small encoded link at the bottom of the description, which was immediately distinguishable as a Caesar cipher, which, when translated, brought us to an Imgur link, showing a screenshot from a Minecraft world. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like anything important, until you look hard and notice the corner, which seems to display a string of letters. After finding this code, I spent genuine hours trying to decipher it, putting it through every cipher imaginable and even trying to use it as the password for that weird pastebin link. But absolutely nothing I tried worked, so I took a break for a while and came back to find another video uploaded, titled Liinality. This video commences with Hunter already in his world, running around for a bit before returning to his base and entering the water dimension again. This time though, he doesn't end up in the same place as always, instead finding himself in a weird flat world, with a path leading directly to a massive staircase. He heads towards the staircase, but on the way finds out that this dimension has a lower gravity than the others, causing him to fall and jump slower. He places down a sign before typing,
There's no escape. I have to use creative.
But when he tries to swap to creative, we see this weird error pop up in chat, and all of a sudden, Hunter can't leave his world. He starts to climb the staircase, and at a random point about 200 blocks up, it randomly starts raining. He eventually reaches the top, where the staircase just ends. Hunter tries to place a sign, but we find out he's at height limit, which for some reason is 511. Normally, in 1.21, the version Hunter's on, the height limit is capped at 320. Hunter seems shocked by this too, and starts heading back down the staircase. Then the video cuts. Hunter tries to change the creative again, but the same error appears. He heads back to spawn and mines the gravel, hoping to suffocate himself and end up back in the overworld, which thankfully works. But he sleeps before immediately heading back into the dimension, but says he hopes to head to the water dimension instead, so he suffocates again. He tries to rebuild the portal and finally ends up where he wants to be. He jumps down into the water, now equipped with doors to breathe without having to surface. One thing I noticed when Hunter dived under the water was weird cobblestone mounds, exactly like the same ones from the first dimension. The video cuts again and he discovers a weird book in his inventory. He also decides to revisit that cave from the previous video, where the copycat entity disappeared into a weird tunnel. But when Hunter goes to type something in chat, we can see two messages that must have been sent between the weird cut from earlier. Was Hunter the one that wrote this book? And if so, why did he pretend like it just appeared out of nowhere? He follows the tunnel all the way down to bedrock before the video cuts again and Hunter is back to the surface. So he returns back to his house and sleeps, before we hear this weird audio similar to the one we've previously heard. before Hunter types just a single letter C into the book. Upon deciphering this audio, it revealed an image that looked like the world he was just in before, with those trees lined up in perfect sequence. There doesn't seem to be anything special about this image though. But maybe the letter C correlates to this dimension in one way or another. But for now, all we can do is theorize. Going back to the video, I noticed a few more brand new chat messages. Reading,
Please, I don't know what to write, but I know I need to write about either one of the dimensions or one of the entities. Also, how did I even get this book? I think the copy entity dug this. It came from Bedrock. Oh yeah guys, I've been feeling way better today. That's honestly the only reason I'm recording.
Hunter tells us he's feeling better after not being well for a while, which started all the way back in the first few episodes. The video cuts again and Hunter puts the book and quill into his chest, along with a few other things, before the video just ends. This is the longest episode we've seen by far, and it only goes deeper with the description.
I was feeling so good today, but as soon as I stopped recording, a wave just randomly hits me and everything is back. All the dimensions have had a weird and off feeling to them, but nothing like this one. Sorry about that old description. I don't know what was going on with me yesterday. I feel much better today, and I also got some medicine for it. So far, I think the medicine is working. So if I keep feeling good, then I plan to post later today, or maybe tomorrow.
Hunter mentions that this dimension made him feel the worst he's ever felt so far, and that this one gave off the weirdest vibes. He then follows it up the previous day though, saying he feels a lot better and plans to upload again soon. Upon waiting for the next day, a new video appeared on the channel, titled In the Void. The video starts with Hunter just mining for coal, before addressing us and apologizing for the last video's description.
Hey guys, sorry about the old description of the last video. Even I couldn't understand what I was saying, but I was feeling horrible when I was writing it. I'm feeling much better today though, because of this medicine.
He continues mining before telling us he wants to build another portal to revisit the earlier dimensions, but as he says this, something weird pops up in the subtitles. I didn't really think much of it at the time though, until Hunter entered a cave and it happened again. By this point, I thought it was still a little weird, but nonetheless, I pushed it to the side and continued watching the video. But randomly, as Hunter's mining, an entire chunk disappears and he falls into the void. But instead of dying, he ends up in this weird dimension. Hunter looks around before we can notice this weird fully black entity, but as he approaches it, all the lights turn off as the entity seems to snap, and then two more come out of nowhere, and they all chase Hunter down. He tries to fend them off, but they're too fast and start attacking him. But just as it seems like he's run out of ways to escape, the lights turn back on and the entities become passive again. Taking full advantage of this, Hunter runs in the opposite direction, only to find even more entities everywhere he went. He keeps running until finding a big area of void, when the lights cut again and an entity appears right next to him. Hunter tries to use his shield to defend himself, but it doesn't work, and he gets hit into the void. This is where the video ends, but there's still some things in this video we're yet to address, such as the numbers in the subtitles, which ended up being scattered all throughout the video at different points. After finding every single one, I put this through the same thing from earlier, with those weird numbers from the book, and it gave us this. This seems like another attempt for the entities to get Hunter's assistance, resorting to straight up threats rather than the nice approach they went for earlier. Maybe the entities are what's causing this sickness, and maybe the reason they're doing it is due to his refusal to help them. Without any extra info though, there's no definitive answer. Before moving on, I decided to take a look at the description, which read,
Sorry for the awful gameplay. I think the medicine is making my coordination worse or something, which is causing me to keep pressing the wrong buttons. But at least I'm feeling better. I'm also sorry for the video corruption, but potential future uploads shouldn't be corrupted, because I showed my videos to my friends, and they are working on a program for me that can hopefully diagnose what is actually going on, and help stop my videos and other files from getting corrupted. I hope it can stop my computer from turning on by itself and making those weird sounds too. If nothing works, I think I'll just sell my computer, and it can be someone else's problem. Am I a dickhead for that?
When Hunter mentioned his computer turning on by itself and making weird noise, I immediately thought it had something to do with the entities and their attempt to escape. possibly trying to enact their plan when Hunter wasn't around. He also mentioned his friend attempting to make a program that will fix the corruption, which will hopefully get rid of the entities in the process. But with nothing more to take away from this video, I decided to just move on to the next and second last video on the channel, titled Back to the Roots. Hunter starts the video by greeting us as normal, but one thing I immediately noticed was that the corruption seemed almost entirely fixed. He says that he didn't know where the problem came from, but thanks people for helping him in comments and Discord messages. Hunter runs around in his world for a bit, before ending up back in his base and saying he wants to make a diamond pick due to suggestions. He then says he's going to do some off-camera mining before the video cuts, and he ends up with exactly 3 diamonds, but his levels haven't moved an inch. He then crafts up the pickaxe before running outside in search of a cave, but when he gets over the hill, he sees the weird entity from last video. But what happens next, I can't even begin to explain. The video then cuts, and Hunter comes back almost immediately and just continues what he was doing as if nothing happened, just picking up the water and leaving completely unfazed. He does eventually address it though, asking,
Was that the same black figure from before, from Dimension 2?
if we remember back to the 4th video on the channel, we can find this fully black entity hiding among the trees, which seems to be the exact same one as we've just seen. Hunter continues on to give us an update on his medicine, saying it's not working, but he'll still take it, before telling us his plans to build a Herobrine shrine because a viewer suggested it. He finds a ruined portal and fixes it up to be able to hopefully reach the Nether, which actually works. He looks around for a bit before leaving to mine again, eventually gathering all the resources he needed to build the shrine. He starts making it inside his base, but upon lighting the netherrack, nothing happens, until he rebuilds it outside, to which nothing happens again. Feeling defeated, he goes inside to smelt some food, but then we hear this. He notices this too, looking around to try to find the source, before running all the way back to the nether portal, and after a few attempts he manages to enter the cobblestone dimension again. The weird pulsing in the background randomly gets a lot faster and high pitched out of nowhere though, as Hunter's game keeps freezing every time he tries to do anything. He tries to build a portal to escape, but it doesn't light. Eventually he decides to just jump off somewhere high to get back home, and that's where the video cuts. This video didn't have as much as the last few did, but I'll try my best to understand it anyways. The weirdest thing was definitely whatever that was at the start, which didn't seem to faze Hunter at all by the time he loaded back into his world. This video also seemed to cut out a lot due to Hunter's off-camera mining, which he addresses in the description, reading,
We built the Herobrine shrine as requested. It didn't do anything. Sorry for all the off-camera mining.
This is the first time we've ever seen Hunter cheat at all, so for him to do this so much in just one video is kind of crazy. Maybe he was just lazy and didn't want to grind, but maybe there was also something much deeper that we won't know for sure at this moment. At the bottom of the description though, I noticed yet another string of numbers, letters, and symbols. Nothing like we've ever seen before. It took me a while to figure this one out, but I eventually narrowed it down to one base 85 based method, Z85. When decrypted, it reads,
The tags. Why are the tags so important? They just are. What are the tags? The tags. What are the tags? They are the tag.
Immediately, I decided to check the tags of the video, only to find 2. A short string of letters and numbers, and one just reading the tags. The string was weird to solve. Initially, I thought it was a Discord link, but to no avail. Then, I tried to put it into the password section of that earlier pastebin, but once again, nothing. Until I tried to put it at the end of an Imgur link, to which I found this. An image titled Save Us, likely another attempt from the entities at gaining Hunter's assistance in rescuing them. I decided to enhance the image and check if there was anything hidden that I missed, which actually turned out to be true, as turning up the contrast revealed some hidden text, but I couldn't quite make out what it said. But if you guys find anything, feel free to leave it in the comments. After feeling defeated, I decided to give up on this video and just move on to the next, as I couldn't find out any more information or clues about what was going on. So with that out of the way, we can dive into the final video on Hunter's channel. This one isn't like any of the others though, as it features no gameplay. just a weird glitchy video and an insane amount of encrypted messages. I decided to start with the contents of the video first, but quickly came to a dead end. The video starts with audio that sounds like a spectrogram. But when I checked it out, there was nothing to be found, so I called it a loss and moved on to the second encryption in the video, which was this weird AI voice reading out numbers.
9, 13, 7, 21, 18, 53, 3, 15, 13, /1, /11, 23, 55, 7, 23, 52, 29.
Which translated to an IMGO link, which non-surprisingly also seemed to be completely inactive and didn't end up working. One thing I did manage to decode though was the title, reading, "Why me?" This is likely Hunter wondering why he was the one chosen to harbor these entities, and be their portal out of the world they were trapped inside for who knows how long. The last thing to decode on this video though is the description, which contains the same method of binary from the title, although this time it doesn't translate to a phrase, but rather a link containing a weird zip file. Upon extracting it, I realized it was a download for a Minecraft world, and upon going back and remembering that Hunter used version 1.20.1, I managed to gain access to the world and logged in for the first time. It was Hunter's world, with all of his items and base still completely intact. The first thing that came to mind for me was that weird book from before, which I found stashed away in his chest. Upon opening it, this is what I read.
Copy entity. Starts in stone dimension. Comes to overworld from bedrock. Digs tunnel towards me.
I'm not 100% sure what this actually means, so I decided to take a bit of a look around the world, searching for any sort of finalizing clue. But while I'm searching, we can start to build a theory on what's going on with Hunter and his world. Taking everything into account, the most plausible explanation for the ending of this ARG is that the entities were never just random anomalies or glitches, but rather conscious player-like beings trapped within each of these dimensions, all working towards a single goal of escape. From the very beginning in the cobblestone dimension, we are introduced to the mimic entity, which not only takes on Hunter's appearance but slowly learns his behavior, eventually finding a way into the overworld, something that should be completely impossible. As Hunter continues to explore each dimension, he unknowingly weakens whatever boundary is keeping these entities contained, effectively acting as a vessel for them to move between worlds, which is directly supported by the signs and Morse code messages thanking him, as well as his worsening sickness and the strange real-world effects like his computer turning on by itself. The White Room dimension stands out as a temporary safe haven, a place untouched by corruption, where the entities seemingly cannot reach. But even that doesn't last, as their influence continues to grow stronger everywhere else. The turning point comes when the entity appears in the overworld and the video abruptly cuts, after which Hunter's behavior becomes increasingly inconsistent, suggesting that this is the exact moment the mimic succeeds in either replacing or merging with him. From that point on, the reduction in corruption is not a sign that things are getting better, but rather proof that the entities no longer need to force their way in, because they have already succeeded. The final video and the world download then act as the last piece of the puzzle, not as a conclusion but as a continuation, with the world file itself likely serving as a new entry point for the entities to spread beyond Hunter and into anyone else who interacts with it. In this sense, the title "Why Me" becomes both a genuine question and its own answer, as Hunter was chosen simply because he explored, interacted, and pushed deeper than anyone else, making him the perfect bridge between these dimensions and reality, ultimately allowing the entities to complete their escape and pass the cycle on to the viewer. But this journey definitely isn't over yet. I'd say it's hardly begun, because there's one place we never even thought to check.